All right, good evening, and welcome back to JPCE Spiritual Talk. It's Jared Campbell. So global conflicts escalate, spy bases, naval attacks, and military reinforcements. I'm going to start out with a really quick prayer, and we'll get into our introduction and into our news. In the name of the Father, Son, and the Holy Spirit. Oh, Lord Jesus Christ, my God, without you, I can do nothing. Please help me to finish the task that I'm about to complete. Keep me honest and objective. And in your name and in your holy name, I pray. In the name of the Father, Son, and the Holy Spirit, now and forever. Sages. Amen. Lord's our shepherd. All right. So here's our introduction. So welcome back to JPCE Spiritual Talk, where we will dive deep into the latest and most pressing global events. Please click on the link, right, in the description box. You'll see the link for the study guide. Please pull that up, or the write-up. In case I stumble over some words, like I said, I had a head injury. I was in the military. So here we go. In this episode, we'll cover explosive developments shaking the world stage, from the surprise resignation of Israel's generals amid claims of a compromised war machine to the urgent call by Israeli foreign minister for an additional 10,000 soldiers. The situation in Israel is critical. We'll also explore the discovery by American intelligence of 4 spy bases in Cuba, signaling a major strategic maneuver by Eurasian Axis, potentially preparing for a mega attack. The naval scene has been devastating blows, with the Houthis striking ships across the Arabian Sea and the Red Sea, and also in the Mediterranean, prompting a swift response from the American naval. On the Eastern Front, the Ukrainian defense line faces a brutal onslaught as Russian forces emerge unexpectedly from tunnels, wreaking havoc from the rear. Additionally, preparations from a significant confrontation are underway, with Russian submarines patrolling the Irish Sea and strategic Tu-142 flights covering immense distances from the Bay of Biscay to the North Atlantic. We'll also report on a catastrophic strike on a Ukrainian airbase, where 7 Su-27s were liberated and 14 pilots lost their lives. Stay in tune as we unravel the critical developments, providing detailed insights and analysis on the escalating global conflicts and their far-reaching implications. So we'll get our screen shared over and get right to it. Thank you all again for following. So I took the time and broken all this down. So I hope you enjoy these videos. Right. So the first one on your screen. So we're going to start out by talking about Israel tonight, right? Do a little bit of a pivot. I like to switch things up. So let's see what's going on in Israel, right? So live to fight another day. Resignation, bombshell, right? So we're going to talk about a general in Israel. So the resignation of Lieutenant General Herzai Halva, if I said that right. So the Lieutenant General was the chief of the Army General Staff, and he is set to resign in 2 weeks. His resignation is seen as a protest against the potential invasion of Lebanon and Syria, reflecting internal dissent within the military. The General Staff Forum, comprising about 30 senior Israeli generals, is advocating for an immediate ceasefire in Gaza. The generals argue that a ceasefire would allow the military to recover and prepare for potential conflicts with Hezbollah and also Iran. Strain on military resources. The prolonged conflict in Gaza has severely depleted Israel's military resources, including ammunition, equipment, and also troop motivation. Tanks and other military vehicles are operating below capacity due to the shortages of parts and maintenance resources. Concerns over attrition warfare. Israeli military leaders warn that the army has fallen into a war of attrition, which could be disastrous if Hezbollah or Iran become more involved. The generals also believe continuing the conflict without clear post-war plan is unsustainable and risks weakening the military. Hostage situation and military strategy. A truce is seen as the best option to secure a release of approximately 120 Israelis held captive in Gaza. The military stance on a ceasefire marks a significant shift as it acknowledged the mutual incompatibility of defeating Hamas and rescuing all hostages. Public and political reactions. Prime Minister Netanyahu opposes a truce that leaves Hamas in power, fearing it could collapse his coalition and government. The military's public hints of frustration indicate a growing rift between the generals and also the political leaders. The resignation of Lieutenant General Houthis and the calls for a ceasefire by the General Staff Forum represent a pivotal moment in Israel's ongoing conflict in Gaza. These developments have profound implications for the broader geopolitical landscape and the potential for a more significant regional conflict. Internal dissent and military strategy. The resignation of the high-ranking military official. It underscores significant internal dissent regarding the current military strategy. This internal conflict could impact the coherence and effectiveness of Israel's military operations. Resource depletion and military readiness. The severe depletion of military resources raises concerns, right, about Israel's readiness to engage in further conflicts, particularly within Hezbollah and Iran. The strain on ammunition equipment and troop morale highlights the urgent need for strategic reassessment, right? So I'm staying objective to many of these articles I've read, okay? Humanitarian and strategic considerations. The advocacy for a ceasefire reflects a pragmatic approach to balancing humanitarian concerns with strategic military objectives. Securing the release of hostages and allowing the military to regroup are seen as critical to preventing further escalation and assuring long-term stability. Regional implications and potential escalation. The potential for a broader conflict involving Hezbollah and Iran remains a significant risk. The current situation in Gaza serves as a precursor to what could be a larger and more destructive regional war, and provides the need for diplomatic interventions and de-escalation efforts, political dynamics, and leadership challenges. The growing rift between the military leadership and Prime Minister Netanyahu's government highlights the complex interplay between military and political decision-making. The outcome of this internal conflict will likely shape Israel's future military and political landscape. Strategic shift in long-term planning. The military shift towards advocating for a truce indicates that it recognizes the limitations of prolonged conflict without a clear endgame. This strategic shift calls for comprehensive long-term planning to address the conflict's underlying causes and develop sustainable solutions. In conclusion, with the resignation of the Lieutenant General, it seems to call and his calls for a ceasefire by. So in conclusion, with the Lieutenant General's resignation and the calls for a ceasefire by Israel's top general marks a critical juncture in the Gaza conflict. And also with the depletion of military resources and humanitarian crisis, and the potential for broader regional escalation necessitates urgent and strategic responses for military and political leaders. The evolving dynamics with Israel's military and political spheres will determine the conflict's future trajectory and the region's stability, right? This was an interesting article. Let's listen to BB for a minute.
I don't know who those unnamed parties are, but I'm here to make it unequivocally clear. It won't happen. We will end the war only after we have achieved all of its goals, including the elimination of Hamas and the release of all our hostages. The political echelon defined these goals for the IDF, and the IDF has all the means to achieve them. We do not succumb to defeatist spirits, neither at the New York Times nor anywhere else.
גורמים עלומי שם מתדרכים היום את הניו יורק טיימס. הם אומרים לו שישראל תהיה מוכנה לסיים את המלחמה לפני השגת כל מטרותיה. אני לא יודע מי הם אותם גורמים עלומי שם, אבל אני כאן כדי להעביר חד משמעית. זה לא יקרה. אנחנו נסיים את המלחמה רק לאחר שנשיג את כל מטרותיה, לרבות חיסול החמאס ושחרור כל חטופינו. הדרג המדיני הגדיר לצה"ל את המטרות הללו, ולצה"ל יש את כל האמצעים כדי להשיגן. אנחנו לא נכנעים לרוחות תבוסה, לא בניו יורק טיימס ולא בשום מקום אחר. אנחנו חדורים ברוח הניצחון.
All right, moving on. So, Israeli foreign minister, right, asked for reinforcements. We need additional 10,000 soldiers. This was also in my introduction. So, Gallant calls for an extension of the term of the reservist and conscription, right? So, they're trying to call up, it looks like they're trying to call up, was it Orthodox Jews, right? I've talked about this before in some other videos. So, Israeli Defense Minister Gallant has announced that Israeli Defense Forces, IDF, needs an additional 10,000 soldiers immediately due to the ongoing conflict in the Gaza Strip. Gallant made this request during one of its Foreign Affairs and Defense Committee meetings, which was broadcast on the Army radio. Gallant proposed recruiting 4,800 soldiers, right, from the ultra-Orthodox Jewish community through a new bill recently debated and the consent, which has sparked considerable backlash, right? The Israeli Supreme Court ruled that ultra-Orthodox Jews must serve in the military. So the Israeli Supreme Court ruled that ultra-Orthodox Jews must serve in the military, ending decades of exemption. So they used to be exempt, not anymore, right? Extension of service and terms. Gallant called for extending the terms of reservists and criticized the recent reduction of mandatory service from 32 to 30 months. As a proposal to extend the retirement age for reservists was rejected last week, which Gallant seems as problematic given the current needs. Approximately 6,700 reservists are eligible to leave their duties, a concern for IDF's workforce. Changing defense needs. Before the conflict, Israel's advanced defense and aviation technology led to a brief that fewer infantry forces were needed, reducing the mandatory service period. Okay? The recent conflict with significant casualties and injuries has changed this perspective, right? Bringing on for more personnel and longer service terms. Gallant urged the Knesset Defense Committee to extend service terms for regular and reservist soldiers and integrate the ultra-Orthodox Jew community into the IDF, emphasizing that the army is for everyone. The call for additional soldiers, right, and the integration of the ultra-Orthodox Jews community into the IDF. It highlights the escalating strain on Israel's military amid the ongoing conflict with Hamas. This development has several implications for regional stability and the broader geopolitical landscape. Increased military pressure. The urgent need for 10,000 additional soldiers indicates the severe pressure the IDF must be under. This could lead to prolonged and intensified military engagement in Gaza, raising the risk of further regional destabilization. Societal impact. Integrating the ultra-Orthodox Jews into the military would be a significant culture shift, I would imagine, that may cause internal societal tensions. Most likely, I think so. Historically exempt from service, the ultra-Orthodox Jews population involvement reflects the critical workforce shortages faced by IDF. So geopolitical ramifications. As Israel intensifies its military efforts, neighboring countries and international actors might react, potentially leading to a broader regional conflict. This could draw global powers and escalate into a more significant geopolitical confrontation. The shift from reliance on technology and reduced infantry forces to an urgent call for more soldiers underscores a reassessment of the military strategies in light of current realities. This reassessment could influence military doctrines and preparedness in Israel and among its allies and enemies. Human resources and military sustainability. So the focus on extending service terms and integrating recruits highlights the challenges of maintaining a sustainable military force. The move might set a precedent for all other nations facing similar strains on their military resources. Keep that in mind, what I said, because it could happen, right? In conclusion, Israel's urgent call for reinforcements and integration of the ultra-Orthodox Jew community into the IDF is reflecting a significant military and societal pressure brought about by this ongoing conflict. This development could have far-reaching implications for regional stability and international relations, potentially influencing the broader context of global military strategies and alliances. Beautiful. Some of y'all let me know what you think in the comments, right? I read this stuff, I research it, I break it down, right? So here we go. Americans have identified 4 spy bases in Cuba. The Eurasian Axis is preparing for a major attack. That was in my introduction. So here we go. So discovery of spy bases in Cuba, right? So the U.S. military has identified 4 spy bases in Cuba, right? Given their advanced capabilities and rapid construction. These bases are believed to be operated by China or a joint Chinese-Russian effort, right? Here's some of the pictures, right? Look, but let me read through this, right? So here's some strategic significance. The bases have a large dish antennas, right, for satellite tracking and communication, suggesting espionage activities, right? The proximity of these barriers to the southeastern U.S., including the naval base at Guantanamo Bay, raises concerns about espionage on U.S. military installations, such as launch facilities and also commercial shipping. I would imagine so. Espionage capabilities. The report highlights the potential for these bases to intercept sensitive electronic communications from U.S. military and civilian targets. The latest base, still under construction in El Salah, has a circular antenna array indicating advanced signal interception capabilities. Historical context. The resurgence of foreign espionage facilities in Cuba echoes the Cold War era when the Soviet Union operated a significant intelligence site in Lodores near Havana, right? Broader geopolitical implications. This development reflects China and Russia's growing influence and strategic ambitions in the Caribbean and Latin America. The U.S. has expressed concerns about rivals gaining a foothold in the region, a long-standing area of American influence. Espionage activities within the U.S. Land acquisitions near U.S. bases. Chinese entities have acquired land near 19 U.S. military installations from Florida to Hawaii. I've talked about this before too. These acquisitions raise suspicions about potential espionage activities within the U.S. Potential threats. This proximity of these land holdings to vital military bases, such as Fort Liberty in North Carolina and Fort Cavos in Texas, suggests they could be used for surveillance and intelligence gatherings. So the discovery of multiple espionage bases in Cuba and the acquisition of land near U.S. military installations by Chinese entities underscore a significant escalation in global intelligence operations with profound implications for international security and geopolitical stability. Here's my conclusion. The identification of espionage bases in Cuba and the strategic land acquisitions near U.S. military installations by Chinese entities signal a significant escalation of global intelligence operations. This development necessitates a comprehensive and proactive approach to safeguarding national security and maintaining geopolitical stability amidst this excellent power and rivalry that we see, right? Here's some other key points, man. Escalation of espionage tactics, geopolitical chessboard, vulnerabilities and preparedness, right? Implications for regional security, strategic response and countermeasures, historical parallels and lessons. Here's something. The current situation parallels the Cold War, right? I think I've talked about that. When the espionage intelligence gatherings were pivotal components of the U.S. Soviet during those times. Lessons from that era, such as the importance of vigilance and strategic alliance, are important to addressing the contemporary espionage threat. There's a lot of pictures in here. I don't know if there was a video. I don't think that there was, right? So the links are in the description box. Take a look at some of these articles and read through them, right? So let's keep moving on. So great naval tragedy for the West. The Houthis pound ships in the Arabian Sea and the Red Sea and the Mediterranean. American naval armada in a hurry. So the Houthis, backed by Iran and Russia, have claimed to attack multiple cargo ships across the Arabian Sea and the Red Sea, and also the Mediterranean Sea and the Indian Ocean. These attacks are aimed at establishing a naval blockade, targets, and attacks. In the Arabian Sea, the MSC Unific V was hit by cruise missiles. Red Sea, an oil tanker, was targeted twice a week. Mediterranean Sea, Lucky Silver cargo ship attack. Indian Ocean, Anvil Point cargo ship reportedly attacked, later refuted by the ship management. The Houthis' actions are perceived as an attempt to disrupt Western maritime operations, mainly affecting Greece, Israel, and the U.S. interests. Claims align with broader strategic objectives of Iran and Russia to challenge Western naval dominance. The USS Eisenhower strike group entered the Eastern Mediterranean. The USS Theodore Roosevelt en route to the Middle East. The USS Wasp and USS Oak Hill operated in the Mediterranean. USS Mount Whitney and USS Bataan off the coast of Israel. Operation Prosperity Guardian, U.S. and British military operations against Houthi targets in Yemen. Geopolitical context and potential World War III implications. The recent escalation in naval attacks by the Houthis and the subsequent response by the U.S. and its allies underscore several significant implications for global security, potential for a broader conflict. Heightened regional tensions, right? Strategic alliances. Iran and Russia's involvement in backing the Houthis highlights the complex web of alliances that could draw multiple nations into a more significant conflicts. Naval warfare escalation, right? Risk of broader conflict, I agree. Impact on global trade and energy supplies. Disruptions in the Red Sea and in the Arabian Sea and Mediterranean seas could significantly impact global trade, particularly oil and gas supplies. Their strategic importance means that any prolonged conflict could have widespread economic repercussions, right? Potential for wider Middle Eastern conflict, right? Strategic naval capabilities. The deployment of hypersonic missiles and advanced anti-ship weaponry by the Houthis and their allies represent a significant threat to naval forces and civilians as well. In conclusion, the recent Houthis attacks and the subsequent Western naval response highlight the precarious balance of power in critical maritime regions. The situation's potential to escalate into a broader conflict involving multiple global powers underscores the need for careful diplomatic and military strategies to prevent further destabilization and maintain international security. You see how they hit that ship, huh? All right, so let's move on. Now we're going to shift to talking about Russia. So carnage at Ukrainians' main defense line in Kurovol. Russians forces suddenly come out of tunnels and hit them in the rear. So Russian forces captured Karavo, a suburb of Torkstik, using a surprise tunnel maneuver, leading to heavy losses for Ukrainian defenses. The veterans unit of Russian forces dug a 3-kilometer tunnel to bypass Ukrainian fortifications. This tunnel allowed Russian troops to attack from the rear, creating confusion and panic among Ukrainian forces, leading to their retreat and some to surrender. Tactical gains. The Russian offensive occupied vital areas, right? These are some of the vital areas you'll see on your screen, right? That are mentioned in this article. Right there at the beginning, is some of the areas that they have occupied, right? A Ukrainian analyst confirmed the Russian advances, highlighting significant territorial gains and strategic positioning. Russian forces have established temporary deployment points and advanced towards New York, formerly Novgorod, right? Broader offensive actions. The Russian Ministry of Defense reported continued assaults in the Torkstik region, including air-supported attacks. The capture of Sumy improved the tactical positions of Russian forces, enabling further advances. The Ukrainian armed forces suffered significant casualties, with reports up to 360 soldiers lost in a single day. Ukrainian defensive positions have been repeatedly attacked with heavy artillery and airstrikes, contributing to the damage. So let's look at some of these videos and we can move on, right? The Russian aerospace forces drop at FAB 3000 on Ukrainian Armed Force base. That's why there's so many casualties. When they're using bombs that big, it actually makes sense why there's that many casualties, right? Here's a map. Zoom in on this map. These maps don't translate. Like I said, the links are in the description box. The links are always in order on how I present this. The first link will always be the one to the write-up, all the notes that I have. So you can see that. And then the links of the articles will be in order, if that makes sense. Right? There's an attack helicopter destroyed the enemy's advanced positions. It always does that to me. I always have to come out for some reason when I try to show a video. If not, we're just going to keep going. I do apologize. But all right, let's move on. All right, the links are in the description box. So our next article, preparations for a major confrontation. Russian submarines in the Irish Sea, right? So the incident overview. Russian submarines are operating in the Irish Sea. Tu-142 anti-submarine warfare aircraft conducted a 10,000 kilometer patrol mission from the Bay of Biscay to the North Atlantic. The Norwegian Air Force deployed 2 F-35 fighters to intercept and escort Russian Tu-142MK aircraft. The Tu-142MKs flew a 15-hour mission covering 10,000 kilometers. The purpose of the flight aimed to calibrate the newly installed over-the-horizon OTH radar. The OTH radar is crucial for the early detection of nuclear missile launches. The capabilities of the Tu-146MK. It has advanced sensor sonar systems and electronic support measures. Detect and track surface and underwater targets and calibrate radar. Additional Russian military presence. A Tu-95 bomber was spotted near Alaska, intercepted by NORAD with F-22 and F-A-18 fighters. Russian submarine movements. Russian Kilo-class submarines have conducted missions in the Irish Sea, prompting British military responses. Submarines are capable of launching caliber cruise missiles and other naval weapons. Strategic infrastructure concerns. Russian activities near undersea cables connecting Canada, the UK, and the EXA Atlantic have raised security concerns. Enhanced maritime patrols are in place to protect this critical infrastructure. The recent Russian military activities represent a significant escalation in geopolitical landscape, with potential implications for global security and stability. The international community must navigate these developments carefully, balancing deterrence and diplomatic efforts to prevent further escalation and possible conflict. Strategic posturing. The deployment of Russian submarines in the Irish Sea and long-range patrols by Tu-142MK aircrafts indicate a strategic maneuver to insert military presence and influence in critical maritime regions. That's what they're doing, right? They're just testing, right? Vulnerability of critical infrastructure, right? We talked about that. Technological and the tactical advancements of the Tu-142MK, we did that. Escalation of military encounters, yes. Impact on international relations, absolutely. Global security dynamics, absolutely. As we get ready to close out this evening. So the Russians hit a Ukrainian airbase with destructive force. 7 Su-27s were destroyed. 14 pilots were killed. Right, there's a video. So let's kind of talk about this. So the event overview, right? Russian missile strike on a Ukrainian airbase. Location: Mirograd airfield, right? Which is 140 kilometers from the front line. If I said that wrong, I apologize, right? Destructions: 7 Su-27 fighters destroyed. Casualties: 14 Ukrainian pilots were killed, including those trained for F-16s. Man, it's not good. Details of the attack: Iskander operational tactical complex, so Iskander missile. Reconnaissance: operations recorded by a Russian reconnaissance drone. Additional strikes: caliber high precision weapons. The Kinzhal hypersonic missile drones. 2 Iskander missiles with two Iskander missiles, one with the cluster warhead on it. Okay. Ukrainian reports. Number of attacks: 4 missile strikes reported by Ukrainian sources. Warhead types: they were both cluster and conventional warheads. Aircraft status: no Su-27 fighters took off post-strike, suggesting significant damage. Ukrainian response: Yuri Ignat, former representative of Ukrainian armed forces, acknowledged regular Russian strikes on Ukrainian air bases and the impact on the Ukrainian Air Force. Right. So the Russian strike here on this airbase is a potent reminder of the high stakes and escalating nature of the conflict in Ukraine. As the situation involves, the international community must grapple with the immediate humanitarian impact and broader implications for global stability and security. Tactical advantages: the destruction of 7 Su-27s and loss of 14 pilots, including F-16 trained personnel, that weakens Ukrainian air capabilities and its ability to utilize advanced Western weaponry. Psychological warfare, the use of cluster munitions and precision strikes serves not only as a tactical purpose, but also a psychological one. It's true. Aiming to demoralize Ukrainian forces and civilian population, I agree. Escalation risk, definitely. Impact on Western support, yes. Strategic infrastructure, targeting air bases is critical. It is. That's where we'll close this evening. Let's watch the video. All right, so we're gonna get ready to close out. You know what? Not too bad, right? I see, like I'm kind of with my time, I'm kind of consistent there, right? But I really tried to take the time to break a lot of this down, right? To get in there, to get a better understanding of what's being said. I really tried to stay objective, right? In these breakdowns with my commentary, with my summaries, and how I see things, because it's really important to stay objective in these. You want to know what everybody is saying, right? Because that's the thing. There's propaganda on all sides, right? I've said it before. You're going to have Russian propaganda. You're going to have Israeli propaganda. You're going to have Hezbollah propaganda, Hamas propaganda. You're going to have American propaganda, NATO propaganda, right? EU propaganda, UN propaganda. Everyone has propaganda, right? But I believe in getting there and breaking it down to see what everybody is saying, right? So I really want to thank all of you for subscribing. Whether you're here for the Bible studies or you're here for these news updates, thank you for coming. Everybody's welcome here, right? It doesn't matter whether you believe or not. Everyone is welcome here to listen to my news, right? And don't be offended, right? If you don't want to listen to the prayers, you can just skip on and still listen to the news, right? Everyone's welcome, right? And so without further ado, thank you all for following, right? I love you all so much. May the Lord bless you and keep you. The Lord make his face shine upon you and be merciful to you. The Lord lift up his countenance upon you and give you peace. In the name of the Father, Son, Holy Spirit, now and forever. The sages. Amen. So I'm going to ask, what do I need to do different too? Help me out. Give me ideas, suggestions, right? To help grow this channel, right? Because I really want the channel to grow, but I want it to grow in a way where we have an active community, and not a community that's arguing or bickering, but a community that's united for truth, objective truth, right? And that's what I'm trying to strive here, right? So thank you all again. I'm going to get off here now. Hope you enjoy these videos. I do the best I can, right? And I'm only going to get better as I go. I love you all so much, though. I'm out. Never, ever hold back, right? Seek truth. Stay objective. Seek objective truth and never hold back, right? Never hold back. I love you all so much.